it ahead. So people who probably want to meet the stars. But what happens sometimes now is that, when they come, there's almost, like they're sort of fighting to divert other people who came to see other films to see their own films. Now, from that perspective, that's of no value to anybody at the end of the day, because the whole essence, is lost when it becomes you must see my film. I came to watch another film. Oh no, don't watch that film. Watch my film. And at some point, we had to say, you know what, we're not even doing this meet and greets anymore, because not only do this happens, and then marketers come and turn it into a real marketplace where people are hustling for your clients or your customers to watch their own film. When it becomes like that, it becomes a negative thing. So like Rosanna said, if it's properly done the way it was done before, whereby the stars will plan ahead, the exhibitors are aware, and then the meet and greet is more engaging, and it's then it makes a lot more sense.
Thank you. So we're about to. We don't have that much time anymore. But I thought before we get into the question and answer time, maybe we should shake a few tables. Yeah, where I've been hearing this shake a table thing. There's been a lot of criticism of the sector in terms of box office information, and I want to direct this at Michael first, particularly. What do you think is the role of box office information in film marketing and attendance growth? What's your perspective? Then followed by Kenneth.
Okay, information is absolutely critical. Let me put it.
So let me just also put it in perspective. The criticism has been bloated figures, figures that don't exist. It's mathematically impossible. Misleading, misguiding. But we know, in other mature climes, mature cinema markets, the ranking of films and all that help shape, or inform, consumer decisions. So that's that in that context.
Okay, I'll use an analogy from banking, because that's where I spent 18 years of my life. If you want to buy shares of a company, what do? You check their financials, you check their financial history, and without that data, you can't make informed financial decisions. The reality today, from what Moses is saying, is that certain producers give out certain information which cannot be verified independently. So I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying correcting from. I'm not saying they're lying. I'm just saying there's an absence of independent verification. So once you have that, it then now becomes a bit tricky, a bit difficult to attract the kind of investments you would want to have in an industry like ours. So today we have 150 screens. Nigeria easily should have 15,000. Now, if we had 5,000 screens, a lot of the problems we're having today will be drastically reduced. The reason we're not getting the kind of investment we should have, the information ready, but then my figures are not even audited, right? So when I came back from film school, somebody came to me to finance her movie, and simple question of, how much did your last film make? She gave me a figure, and I said, can you show me records? There were no records. Okay, whether it was DVD sales, whatever you did, there must be records. So we need to get to a point where people are able to verify the information about the industry. KPMG has done quite a bit, but those are still estimates. They do this annual entertainment industry report for Africa. Those are still estimates. We need to get to a point where we can categorically say Nigerian box office is X. These are the figures, verifiable, audited, so that anybody, anywhere wants to make a decision on the Nigerian film industry, you have access to that data, and then you can make that information. I think at the end of this session, Mr. Lee will speak to this in more concrete terms of some of the things that are about to happen in this regard.
Great. Can I?
Thank you. Entertainment industry report for Africa. Those are still estimates. We need to get to a point where we can categorically say Nigerian box office is X. These are the figures, verifiable, audited, so that anybody, anywhere wants to make a decision on the Nigerian film industry, you have access to that. Mr. Lee will speak to this in more concrete terms of some of the things that are about to happen in this regard.
Great. Can
Thank you, Moses. I think your question is about so the transparency box office and the usefulness of box office numbers. I believe that box office numbers is everything, and not to take us back too much, but even just going back to the conversation about meet and greet, for example, I absolutely love it. I agree that stars work, right, and we're still building culture, so it's important to the transparency. So I always say, and I hope you guys are okay with this, but the most transparent and the most verifiable source of box office information actually sits with most of us here, right? The only way to truly know exactly what a movie does is through us, the exhibitors and the distributors. And so, very for the association is going to speak a little bit about some of the initiatives that we're working on. But the truth is, we just need to open our back doors a little bit more. We need to be a little bit more transparent so that when a movie is out in the cinemas and does X, anybody in the industry can look in and see that the movie did X and take the learnings from it. And whether the movie indexed, above projections or it didn't, we take the learnings from it. But the most verifiable source of information today at this stage of where our industry is really sits here with the exhibitors and with the distributors. So I think the question is really to ourselves about our willingness to share our numbers with the industry. And I think if I could speak for Film House and Film One at least, we're generally quite open with sharing information. We understand that many a times there's a lot of scrutiny on some of the data that we put out, but partly because it isn't verifiable by everybody else. But if everybody else could confirm that a movie did X, then the industry is more inclined to believe that a movie did X. And I think it would inform some of the things Michael spoke about investments and comfort in the industry. But that would be my general view.
Thank you very much. I've been signaled that I have only 10 minutes left, and we have to take questions. But I wanted to just talk about, just ask one more for the panel, and I think it should go to the chairman. In order to continue seeing the growth that we're seeing in the cinema sector, do you think that cinema going in Nigeria is expensive?
That's a tough one, but you're asking me to give you just a one answer. I'd say no, it's not expensive. It's not expensive in Nigeria, and I don't think that the issue of cost is what is behind the problem we have in the cinema itself. No, it's not the issue of cost. There are various other issues that we need to address. The customers are willing and ready to pay to watch the movie if you're able to deliver the value to them. I'm spending 1,500 naira or 2,000 naira to buy a ticket. I want to get value for that money because there are other things I can do with that money. If I decide to go to a cinema to watch a movie, it's because I expect to get value for my 1,500 or 2,000 or 2,500, whatever the cost is. And so our job is to deliver that value. And we must not forget that. The people are paying for what we are delivering and they expect to get value for what they're watching. We sell an experience. It's an experience. We're selling, people come into the cinema, it's a whole experience. From the minute they walk into the cinema, to go into the halls, to buy whatever they want to buy within your lobby and your concession areas, the ambience that you provide, the customer service you give them, the halls that they go in to watch the movies in, and the movie itself. So the whole experience is what they're paying for. And at the end of the day, if the movie disappoints, much of what else that you've put in place, there's always a question mark on it. Did I get value for the money I've paid? So no, I wouldn't say that. I would say it's
It's fairly priced.
It's, yes, fairly priced.
Thank
right
you
now.
very much. A round of applause for our
But
panelists.
Moses, I would like to add on
Okay.
the issue of box office, please. Um, I'm often asked by distributors, sorry, and by producers, what kind of movie sells in Nigeria? What do people want to watch? But one of the ways I've now decided, or we're looking at in the cinema exhibitors industry business, is we don't even have data as to what people are watching and where they're watching it. So I make a movie, it's a comedy, I expect it to sell. At the end of the day, it doesn't sell. But somewhere along the line, somebody might be missing a bit of data that says, hold on a second, that movie actually sold in Ibadan. It may not have sold anywhere else. Or I've made a movie that's a serious movie, 76, an example. But within the data, it might show that that movie actually sold in a certain part of the country. Or even if you take Lagos, it's amazing how much a movie can sell in Yaba and may not do that well on Victoria Island. Or might sell on the IMAX screen, but may not necessarily do that well in Ikeja. So the question might be, is it the experience of IMAX that they're buying? But these are questions that we cannot answer because we don't have enough data. We're not analyzing, or we're not collecting the data that we have. Yes, we have them in silos. So what we're doing at the Cinema Exhibitors Association is to look at this data. We have so much data being generated by all of us. What we want to do going forward is to continue to compile this data. We're starting with an international body called ComScore. We're using them for our box office data, so that we will get to a point where we will be able to give out figures. We'll publish them. We'll say a movie released on Friday. These are the weekend box office figures for that movie. And we can also say this movie sold in this area, this area, this area, or this area. Or this genre of movie sold. We can also narrow down, based on figures, who are the actors and actresses that are actually selling. Let's stop assuming that we know. Let the box office data tell us. So it's this information we're planning to put out, because it also helps the other part of it. You're a movie producer, you want to finance your movie. There's independently verifiable data that you can point to. Your bank manager will listen to you. So we're trying to get there. We don't want to keep the information to ourselves anymore. And we don't want it in silos anymore. Let's have it out there. Let's expand this industry, because it will grow. But we need to ensure that we're helping it in the right direction and making it grow faster than it currently is. So in the next few months, you will get more and more information coming out of the Cinema Exhibitors Association. And at that point, we will also engage most of you to help us give you what you want. Thank you.
Thank you. Very well said. Thank you. So we're going to turn it to the audience. I'm sorry, we're very restricted by time. If you please, show of hands. I think we can take 3 questions. Your name, what you do, and the question in 30 seconds, please, madam, and followed by you, sir.
Thank you. My name is Jibe Ologe. I'm the MD CEO at ROS Media and Jibe TV, Channel 361 on Star Times. Ken did say that you are the gatekeeper between the audience and the producers. Okay. So, what steps are you taking to ensure that producers give you commercially viable content because um, it's like the producer is laying the eggs for you. So, is there anything that you're doing to make sure that they give you good content?
Okay. Thank you very much, madam. That's a very good question. But if it's okay with you, I think it's more of the distributor's question. If it's okay with you, can I give Rosanna an opportunity? To thank you.
Um, Firstly, I would say that for one Nollywood movie you have seen, 10 has been rejected. 10 has been rejected, and we had come up to the one you have seen. Every market goes through a development process, and I think for the past since 2004 through to 2007, I think 2007 was 2006 with Irapada was when we started showing Nollywood movies this thing in the cinemas, and so up until now there has been a lot of development. We started off showing Nollywood movies in the cinema on VCD, moved on to DVDs. It was even difficult to move on, just in terms of quality, move on to DVCAM. And so we've progressed. If we had started up in the industry and say to everyone, unfortunately, we cannot show your movies, even so, even for the one, there would not have been any level of encouragement to producers. And so I can say for the past 12 years, we have gone through that. But we have come to a point where the market is hugely competitive. So there will be more scrutiny than we have seen before now. So a lot of the producers in the past who had produced certain kind of movies on the level of quality that they have would not be able to compete anymore in the market. And so as distributors, as exhibitors also, we will be saying no to such movies. No, I think my response to you at this point is that yes, there's a lot of scrutiny. There's a lot of scrutiny that is going on right now. Firstly, is the commercial viability of the film, and secondly, we have a technical check system now in terms of the technical quality that would go off to movies that will be showing in cinemas. Time with a lot of first time producers.